In my sewing tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this travel bag for your makeup. I love it because it's the lay and go style. You just open it up and it lays flat and you can fit so much makeup in there. And then you just close it up, tie it, and put the flap over. You can even hang it anywhere, and I love it because you can put so much makeup in there. Anyway, there's no pattern required. So here's how I made it. I'm using this thicker fabric here, and for the interior of black. So I'm gonna cut out a 22-inch circle, and here's how I did it. So I used the end of the tape measure here. I put my chopstick to hold it still, and then I draw with the pencil, right? So I did about a 22-inch circle. Because seriously, how else do you cut out a circle? To me, this is an easy way. Since I need two circles at 22 inches, I am going to cut out two together. Now, of course, you could make yours smaller than this or larger. All right, so I just wanted about a 22-inch circle. Leaving it pinned together, what I'm going to do is fold these two circles in half, and then I'm going to cut slits about 1 inch long just on the exterior fabric. And now what I'm going to do is mark the opening as to where, after I sew the two circles together, this is the opening I'm going to use to turn it right sides out. And now I'm going to first sew down the edges of these two slits here, making sure I don't grab the black fabric. So I'm just going to fold it over and do a quick, simple straight stitch over it. Next, I'm going to sew the two circles together, leaving the opening open. So I'm going to use about 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure I leave that opening, and I'm going to work my way all the way around. Once it's right sides out, I'm going to make sure the seam is really pushed out against the edge there, and I'm going to give it a good press. This is where my opening is, so I'm turning in the raw edges of the fabric so that it continues along this nice curve. Back at the sewing machine, I'm going to sew very close to the edge, as close as I can get. And now I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew about 1 inch or 1.5 inches away from the edge, making sure I don't sew over that opening. So I'm going to use my magnetic seam guide there just to know exactly where the edge of my circle is lining up. I've purposely used white thread against the black so you can see all of my sewing lines. Next, I'm making the flap, which is really easy. It's like just a rounded pouch. So I'm going to cut it out freehand, and then I'm going to sew around it about 1/4 inch seam allowance and then flip it right sides out. I'm going to give it a top stitch all the way around just to clean it off and close off that top there that's open. As I sew this flap on, I'm going to make sure I don't sew over the open casing. So I'm going to make sure I see that second line that I've sewn. Right there. I'm not going to sew over that. And I'm just going to sew a simple rectangle here. To feed the cording through the casing, I'm going to use my bodkin because it really makes my life easier. And I'm going to go through one opening, pass the other opening, and come out the same opening. Then you're going to see I'm going to repeat the same process on the opposite opening. So both openings are going to have 2 tails sticking out. If you don't have a bodkin, you can definitely use a safety pin. The larger, the better. Next, I'm going to apply the industrial strength Velcro. You don't need this type, but this is what I have, so this is what I've decided to use. You could even sew around it, but this adhesive here is so strong that it actually doesn't move from the fabric. I'm going to even press it a little with the iron to really make sure the adhesive attaches to the fabric. Then I'm going to place the other male end here, and this bag is ready to go. And that's how I made my travel bag for my makeup. Anyway, if you really enjoyed this tutorial and looking for other travel bag ideas, definitely check out my DIY shoe travel bag right up here on the screen. Thanks for watching.